So, if you go online and you're in the same sort of areas that I'm in, you're going to see all these kids talking about, there's this whole new thing, isn't there? Like high ticket. And you look at all these supposed high ticket gurus, and these kids, they look like they're just out of uni. Honestly, 23, 24, 28, whatever years old, slinging courses about high ticket sales. Well, let me tell you, you cannot be effective. You can be okay, but you cannot be that effective at that age. And here's why. You haven't got the battle scars, the lines. You haven't been around the block enough times to have what I call real depth and breadth. But it can be taught, yeah? Because even if you haven't got your own stories and your own personal analogies, you can leverage through other people's like mine. I'll tell you a quick story on the importance of life insurance, for example. And I haven't sold life insurance for many, many, many years, but I went to see these people in a town in Yorkshire. And I'm early doors, I'm learning the ropes, you know, but they had no life insurance. And I had a boss who said, don't come in that office tomorrow unless you've got a check and a signed proposal form. That's it. That was the culture then. You know, we don't care about they're not buying, why they're not buying. You come in with a check and a proposal form, otherwise you're on the street, fuck off until you've got somebody signed up, basically. So I've decided I'm signing these people up. It's my only appointment of that evening. So I go in, I sit down, I drink all the tea, have all their biscuits. And eventually, at about midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning the next day, they signed up and they gave me a check for 20 quid, which was the first month's premium. Now, they had no life insurance whatsoever, yeah? And funny thing is, I go into the office, and by the way, I've earned this is 1983, 4, 5, something like that. I've earned 300 quid. This 20 quid check, 250 quid, 260 quid annual premium. I'm on 150%. I've earned nearly 400 quid. So I'm over the moon, you know. I've got my name on the board the next day in the office. It's all good. So about 3 weeks later, I ring this woman up, the woman of this married couple. I ring them up. And she said the most unusual thing to me. Bear in mind, I'm a life insurance salesman, and people don't want life insurance, don't like it's a distress purchase, right? They don't want them, especially in the 1980s, I can assure you. So, it's gone cold. Where was I? Yeah, she said, oh, Steve. I've rung her up to hit her up to go and maybe sell her some more, get some referrals. She said the most unusual thing that I never heard from anybody, right? She said, I'm so glad you've called, right? Nobody said that to me. And anyway, long story short, turns out literally 3 days, I'd been round on the Monday, for example. On the Thursday, the husband, I'll never forget this guy's name, he was called Terry Ewan, had gone out to his working man's club or something like that on his push bike or moped or something. And he'd been hit by a bus, knocked into a lamppost, dead instantly. So here's the thing, right? The way they teach them to sell nowadays is, you know, let people think about it, let people give them time, give them breathe. And I get all that, right, about being pushy and ballsy. But I was very pushy and very ballsy in those days, if you can imagine that, right? And I stayed there until that time. I think it was like a war of attrition. They just signed to get rid of me. There's a lot of backstory to this, but basically they signed to get rid of me. Now they had some life insurance, right? This guy died a few days later. So I ring my boss and he said, I don't know whether they'll pay out. It's what they call, I worked for Citibank at the time. I just bought an English insurance company that I worked for. Anyway, long story short, they paid out. So I went to see this woman about 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, and I took her a check round for like 40 grand. 40 grand. Can you imagine 40 grand? You imagine 40 grand now, actually. It's still not still a reasonable amount of money, right? But back then, in the 80s, wow, it was loads. So I took her a check for 40 grand. I was the hero of the day. She gave me loads more business, loads more referrals, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, her husband had died, but she had a baby on the way, bun in the oven, as we used to say, and a little one to take care of. If I had not stayed there, and if you like, you're going to say pressured them to sign up, she'd have had fuck all. Yeah. So I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I've sold programs for people like Bob Proctor, Peter Sage, Chris Cardell, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, even entry-level programs at $5,000, yeah, up to $25,000 programs. So I know about high ticket sales. I know about dealing with people. I know all the skill sets. So if you want your team to have some of that, or if you're an individual, if you're a business owner or starting a business and you want to learn the whole sales thing, or you've got a team but you want to grow and scale, then click down below and let's have a chat and see what we could do. I'm not the cheapest, I'm not the most expensive, but I tell you what, I'm the real deal. I'll see you on the next one.